Morning. So this morning what I want to show you is how I'm going to set up my guitar. So what I've got is my Old Faithful here. Beautiful guitar, had it for a long time. But anyway, so what I want to show you is how I'm going to set it up from start to finish. So I'll show you how I'm going to take the strings off, how I'm going to maintain the fretboard, because it's really important. Nice bit of rosewood, so got to keep it clean, keep it sweet. And I'm also going to show you the action, which is the height of the string above the fretboard, so how fast it is to play, or if it might chafe when you play it, and you might get string buzz and all that fret rattle and all that sort of stuff. And also I'm going to show you how to set up the intonation, which is how in tune the guitar is with itself, or the string length, or the scale length, if you like. So so let's get started. All right. So what I'm going to show you today is I'm going to set up my lovely homemade Strat. Hasn't had a cling for a while, so I think it needs some new strings. So as you see, all I need really is some pliers, Allen key, which was for the truss rod adjustment, and you've got a smaller Allen key, which is for the adjustment of the saddles, and then just some cleaning products, so lemon oil, which is highly debated whether you should use it or not. I do like to use it now and again, just to take the crud off the fretboard. I've got some cotton buds just to get in there a bit tighter, and then just some tissue just to clean off the excess rubbish. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do, I've got my strings of course, so the first thing I'm going to do is just going to whip off the old strings. Fun. String tree, that's called a string tree. Don't forget that, string tree. Potentiometers. Potentiometer. This whole bit is the bridge. These are the saddles. It's the fret wire, and then you've got the frets in there, and the fret markers. Noting the octave marker, which is the double marker at the top there. Alright, so once I've loosened these up a bit, I can just pop them off the machine head. What I want to do is I'm just going to snip the excess off, so when I can pull it through, it won't be catching on the inside, and I won't have to rip it out so hard and possibly damage the guitar. So they're a little bit black underneath, so you can see they've been used for a month or so, quite a lot. This is one of my favourite guitars. I've had it about 14 years now, and so put it together, bought all the bits, and I was at school. Okay, so take that high E off there. Right, so I'm just going to turn her over and just whip out the strings. Push these through. I'm just going to wrap them up a bit, so they're not all over the place. Some of the thin ones you can lose them, and you walk around in your bare feet and you forget it's there and it stabs you in the foot. It's not going to be very nice. Okay, so as you see, all the strings are off. So what we can do now is just going to give her a bit of a clean. So with guitar maintenance, it's important not to use too many chemicals that might, over time, especially as you do it over year after year, it's going to build up and take the finish off your guitar, or dry the wood out too much. Like I say, some people don't like to use lemon oil because it does, or it can dry the fretboard out a bit. And rosewood being quite porous wood, it can seep in. But I think it's fine. I think it just takes the crud off it, so I think that's absolutely fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply a bit of this. So it's got a little sponge in there, just need to rub it up there, just a bit, just a tiny little bit. And then get my tissue. And I'm just going to rub along with the frets. So parallel to the frets, not up and down the fretboard. You want to be going the way that you bend the string. So with the frets. So like I said, I did this about a month ago, so it shouldn't be too dirty, but just a month's worth of dirt there. time. So see if we're getting it off now. So I'm just going to do the same with the cotton buds now. So I'm going to do another light application. I'm going to go each side of the fret wire and just go up and down. Do it quite quickly this time. Don't want to waste too much time on the vid. I do tend to keep the guitars quite clean anyway, to be honest. So when it comes to maintaining the actual body, I never use any product at all. I just stick with good old tissue or a cloth. That's it. I don't put polish on it. I don't really feel the need. As you can see, it's got quite a lot of dings and marks. Been through a lot of gigs with me, so she's a lovely workhorse. Beautiful sound, very stratty sound, but I've got the hot rail pickups in there. It's actually a cool rail, and that one's a hot rail, so it's just like a humbucker. So it has the humbucking cancellation noise property, which is very useful. But I've got the single coil in the middle, just so I can blend the two blended, like on this selection with both of those. It tends to be really, really nice, especially for blues, because this pickup tends to exhibit more of a bassy, smoother response because it's closer to the neck and it's picking up the vibration of the string in a different place. Okay, so I'm just going to give it a general wipe over. It's better to use a cloth really, because you don't want it to rip and then it gets caught and it's a bit annoying, but just going to give it a wipe. So that'll do. Make sure none of this. So I'm just going to do the same on the back. I'm going to put it on the knee to make it a bit easier. Just go up and down the fret, the back of the neck. Just like quite glossy on the back of the neck, so it's quite fast action. Okay, that's good. All over there. Go over that one more time before the end. Just to make sure it's totally gone. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop my strings on. So let me show you how to put the string on again. So I'm using 10s. I tend to use 10s on most of my guitars, whether it's a Strat or a Les Paul. I prefer to Darios. I think they sort of last the longest. They have a good life. They sound really nice, and they very, very rarely break on me. And they're colour coded, which is quite useful as well. So it's the brass colour one. That's the fattest string in this case. That's the 6th string here. So remember when it's back to front, not to put it in the wrong one. So it's going to be this one. Just need to thread it through. Just be careful. I'm just going to rest it on my shoulder. I'm just going to give it a bit of a hand. And then I'm just going to put it through. And just making sure that it's not catching on the inside of the block, the trem block there. Sometimes it catches and you go to tighten it up and it'll ping back and it can't be good for anyone. Right, so when you change your string, one of the most important things is to keep the string tight at all times. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to align my hole at the end of my, in my tuning peg, my machine head, just so it's facing towards me so I can get a good start. So I'm just going to thread that through, like that. And I'm not going to pull it all the way through and tighten it up because I need to leave myself some slack. Because I need to get at least 2 or 3 winds on the bigger strings, probably 3 or 4 on the smaller strings up here, just so it gets good tuning stability. All right. So usually about hand is good for me, a hand size. So about that. But I've got quite big hands, so you might want to experiment. So I reckon about there. So what you see is I'm going to keep pressure on all the time, down here, and then I'm going to hold the string tight with the other part of my hand here. And then I'm just going to turn away from me. So the tag end should be going round in an anti-clockwise motion. Right? So what I do with my tag end is I just lift it up like that, just so it keeps it out of the way a bit. And you want to make sure that the string, the proper part of the string you got hold of, is going underneath the tag end. So when that gets tightened up, that's going to clamp itself onto the tag end there, and it's going to make sure that the tune doesn't slip at all. So I'm just going to hurry up and do this. You know, some people like to use a string winder, and that's fine, but I like to get personal and intimate. So I like to do it by hand. You can feel the tension of the string as well. So there we go, a couple of turns, that's all you need on the thicker string. So if you hear that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a good bend, because all new strings have got quite a lot of stretch in them, and you want to get rid of that. So I'm going to give it quite a good flex. And now listen to the note. It's gone down quite significantly, almost a fifth, I think. Still bending. So I'll just bend it until the pitch stays a bit more stable. That's the first one, and then I'm going to get my pliers, which are here, snips. So I'm going to snip the tag end off. So I do it quite close. I usually leave probably a couple of mil, really. I don't like to leave them waving around, but it's a subjective thing. You know, it's like liking green rather than the colour red, isn't it? So. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and put the rest on now. So what I thought I'd do is to show you a bit of a close-up of putting the string on the headstock, because that's the fiddly bit, if you like. So what I've done is on this A string here, the second one, is I've lined my hole, so I'm going to be able to go straight in the back of it, he says. Just like that. Okay, so once you're in there, you want to leave yourself some slack on the string. So leave yourself, like I said, about a hand's width. And then I put my finger down on the board, on the headstock there, and then I just begin winding and making sure the string is going anti-clockwise, and then the tag end is then, just bending it up there, is then going over the top of the string. So I'm just going to hurry up and do it. Bit of camera wobble there probably, but okay. So I'm just going to go up and do that. So there it is, the close-up. Okay, so what I thought I'd show you is I'll just put the string on again, just to make sure you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to get my, watch out for my eyes, I don't want to put myself in the eye. So I'm just going to turn it over, pop it through the trem block there. And mine doesn't actually have springs on the bridge as such. Here, where you tend to find them, mine's got them on there, just personal preference, so just have to help it through a bit. Alright, so I want to put it through. So the first thing I do, remember, is just to line up my my eye on my machine head so I can pop it straight in there like that. Okay. And so when you've got your guitar laid flat like this, it makes it a lot easier, it really does. Right, so I'm just going to give my hands length there. So like I say, these top three strings, the G, the B and the E, they're a lot thinner gauge, so I like to give them a couple more winds. So 3, 4, even sometimes 5. Like I say, you can do it with a string winder, but I just like to do it by hand. And also a word about when you put your guitar down for maintenance, it's really important to make sure it's somewhere that's not going to scratch it or get it dirty, dusty, or fall off somewhere. So, I really like this, just a pair of pillows. You can get the neck supporters, which does offer a bit of a more stable solution, but I'm just going to stick with my nice orange pillow. Alright, so it's getting nice and tight now. So what I'm going to do is just make sure it's in the nut slot there, and then it's going to make sure it's just in between the two Allen slots there. And then I need to put it on my winder. So what I'm going to do is just push it down and pop it under my string tree or retention device. Right, sounds beautiful. So just going to chop that tag end off. All right. So we've got all the strings on. So don't forget to give it a good. So that sounds about stretched already. Sounds about like an E to me, but anyway, so I'm gonna check that now. So I'm just gonna tune it up. My chromatic tuner, it's broken at the moment. So all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna use this great piano tuner that is definitely by far the most accurate tuner I've found for the iPhone or the iFamily. Right, so the first string, or the thickest string, bottom E, obviously needs to be an E. So my E is a bit flat today because that was an E flat. So I'm just going to shut up so it can do its thing. Next one's A. So always make sure you tune up. You've got to tune up. So if it's sharp and you just tune it down, then it's going to, when you play it, it's instantly going to go flat once you stretch the string. So you always need to tune up. It's called tuning up for a reason. So I'm just going to stretch my string out again and see that it has gone flat. Since we're playing that one. So next one's D. So E, A, D we've got to. There we go. So I'm just going to stretch it out to get rid of the excess elasticity. So it's gone down by a whole semitone there. So onto the G string. So that's going to be good. Final one. And then onto the B, this one. So I've managed to put them on nearly in tune. All that practice. And then the top E. And then what will probably happen is that the bottom E has gone out. Yeah, as you put the tension on this other side of the neck and across the neck more generally, it's gonna stretch it out a bit. It's gonna pull the neck into shape. So this time, that's about it. But once you set the guitar up properly, you know, you probably hear a lot of people say, oh, my guitar goes out of tune all the time. If you tune it up right and you put the strings on right, then you can tend to make it a lot more, stay in tune a lot more easily. Some guitars will go out of tune a lot more than others, especially ones that have floating trems. But although this does have a trem on it, I've never used it. I've just screwed it right down as hard as I can and put the springs at the back are as tense as they can go, if you like, and I've screwed the claw into the back as well. So I don't use it, I don't like it, I just like it for its beautiful blues tone. So anyway, so now I've put the strings on, I've got them tuned up, so now what I'm going to do is I need to check my neck straightness. So on this guitar, very annoyingly, if you like, the truss rod adjustment is actually in there, so you'd have to take the neck off to do it, which isn't a problem because all you've got to do is take these 4 neck bolts out. But I know it's straight, so the way you check it straight is you sight it down down the fretboard. That's what you do, just get the right angle there. Just from this side of the guitar, I always do it. And then just as it comes over the horizon, you can see the straightness of the neck. And this one is just straight as a die, pretty much, because I've just had it set up, or I set it up all the time. So that would be fine. So you can test it by having a straight edge, and a lot of people do prefer that, and it is easier to tell, especially if you're just starting out. So having like a long metal ruler, you can, if it rocks, then it means it's convexed neck, which means you have to tighten up the truss rod by going anti-clockwise, and then oppositely, if it's concave, your neck will be like that, and then you'd have to add some tension onto the truss rod, which would be tightening it by going clockwise. Right? But like I said, I've sighted it down the side and we can see that it's fine. But what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you what a bent neck does look like. So what I've got here is a 70s Fender Jazz that I'm doing up, or a Fender Precision Bass rather. And what you'll see, if I can just get it in sight, is the neck is very bent. You can you see that? The neck is very bent on the top there. So you can see how the strings come away from the fretboard quite significantly, especially higher at the frets and towards the bottom of the head. You can see the strings are quite close to the fret still. So I've definitely got a concave bow here. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to tighten up the truss rod clockwise, and that's going to release some of the relief of the neck, or tighten up the neck, and that will hopefully put it straight. But what you need to make sure when you're doing the neck or the truss rod is obviously it's quite delicate, especially if it hasn't ever been touched, So you need to be really careful and you do a quarter of a turn at a time. So by that, if this was in the Allen key slot like that, a quarter turn would be like that. Right? So gently, quarter of a turn, you can give it, just give the neck a bit of a, bit of a feeling, a tough feeling, and you can sort of help it out a bit. And then just leave it for, ideally overnight after every adjustment, but that's not usually practical. So if you can leave it 15-20 minutes between each turn, that will usually help it. And like I say, just help it along a little bit too. Right, so the neck is fine. So what I want to look at now is the action, which is the height of the string off the fretboard. So what you'll see on this guitar is it's quite low already. So how do you test that? Well, what you can do, you can get feeler gauges like you're meant to, put a capo at the first fret, and then fret the fourth fret, and then make sure the distance is all perfect, and all that. You can do it that way. But I like to do it a much simpler way, which has always worked for me, which is as simple as just going up the fretboard, playing each note. A little bit of rattle there, but I'm not too worried about that. There is definitely some rattle. So it's about as low as it will go, but I actually quite like it for this Strat. Just sounds lovely and plays lovely. So, for example, then, so you put this string on, and what I'm going to ask you to do then is to say raise this up. So what I'm going to do is bring up the height of the string. So adjusting the action, you need to get in there with your small Allen key in these two Allen key studs there. So there's two for each string, one each side of the string, and you need to make sure you adjust them both at the same height really, so they're flat. You don't want one, on the piss, so to speak. So if you turn it this way, so clockwise, you're going to higher the action. So probably a turn at a time is as much as you want to go, maybe half a turn if it's only minor adjustments, but I'm going to go whole turn. I just like this there, just so it sticks out when it's in my guitar toolkit bag. It's quite useful for turning it as well. Anyway, so I've just raised that up, and you can actually see that I've raised that up. So what you always need to make sure, once you change the action or do anything to anything on the bridge, is that you need to make sure you tune up again, because now it's going to be, probably going to be sharp now, because I've just risen up the saddle, and it's going to put more tension on the string, which results in a high note. So there we are. I'm just going to check that now again. So it's taking a bit of buzz off it. So often if your neck is too flat, what you'll get is it might play alright everywhere, but when you do bends up here is they'll chafe and you'll go up and then it will stop. But you can hear this is actually, you can hear it doing on that one. But I don't very often do 4 or 2-tone bends, so it's absolutely fine. So that's the action, but like I say, I had it just how I want it, so I'm actually just going to go ahead and put it back. So just to recap, when you check your action, what you need to do is you need to go up each fret and play it, and if you hear a rattle, like a really excessive rattle that is starting to deaden the string, then that's when you want to raise the action, which you do by putting your Allen key in either or both of the Allen's thing there, you know what I'm saying, and then just do a clockwise turn to tighten it up. Great. Alright, so we're getting there now. So the final thing that I want to do is to look at setting up the intonation, which is the tuning of the guitar to itself. So the way we're going to do this is I'm just going to put the guitar back in tune, or just make sure that it's in tune again. So bottom strings be an E. So I need to get it as bang on this time as possible. I want it as close to tune as possible. You'll see why in a minute. So that's so low because I dropped the saddle, so it released the tension on the string. Okay. Oops, got a bit sharp on that one. So tuning up all the time, gone too sharp, I have to go a bit, quite a lot more flat, and then tune up to the note. Okay, that'll do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the intonation of the, I don't know, what should we say, the D string, let's do. Right, so for the intonation, what you're going to need is a screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver. Just left mine in the box. So there it is, Phillips screwdriver. Right, so what I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to do it on the D string, so that's third string from the closest to your head, if you like. I'm just going to make sure that's nicely in tune. There we are. So now what I need to do is get up to the 12th fret. So remember that's marked off by the double dots there because it's an octave above. You've got the A 110 Hz and you've got the 220 A there. So right, so what we can do, open D, that sounds in tune. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fret the note. Now there's many ways of doing this. Some people like to play the harmonic at the 12th and then do the fretted note, and it's the difference between those two notes, and they should be exactly the same. And if they're not exactly the same, then we need to adjust it using this saddle adjustment device here, or just a screw with a spring in it is all it really is. And all that he's really doing is changing the length of the string. Because on a guitar like this, a Fender style guitar, the scale length should be 25.5 inches long. Some people even like to measure it to do it, but that's probably the most inaccurate way you can do it. But like I say, I like to do it just by playing the open note and then the fretted note, because I believe that you're going to fret the notes up there, so you may as well fret it when you set it up, so it's going to be as close as it can be. Alright, so like I say, what you need to do then, play the open note and then fret the 12th, and it should be exactly the same. So in this case, it is. So it's just the tiniest blip flat, but it's exactly bang on really. Let's do the G, so let's make that tune. Intonation depends with strings as well. If you've got old strings, like really old, it's been on there for 6 months, more, a year, then the intonation will go out on the guitar a lot quicker and a lot easier. Just because the old strings are corroded and they've lost all their nice string properties. Right, so we're going to do the intonation for the G finally then. I'll pull that a bit sharp then. Okay, so fret the note. So it's just a bit flat. Also, I've loaded the action a little bit too much, I think, so I'll have to raise it up in a sec. So it's a bit flat. So, which way do you need to go? So, if it's flat, if the note, if this is in tune and then the note you pick in is slightly flat, then what you need to do is you need to bring the saddle forward. So, flat string means forward on the saddle. It's alliteration. That's how I remember it, nice and easy. Flat means forward. So, obviously, to make it forward, you just need to loosen off the screw down here. So probably one turn. Well, it's only a little bit out, so probably literally just one turn on the screw. And you can, if you could see that, you could see it just move probably a millimetre. So what's really important now is you need to retune this. This is going to be out of tune again, because like I said earlier, if you do anything to do with the bridge, then it's going to put it out of tune. So just done the D actually. I should have done the G, but anyway. So that serves for a demonstration. I can do that again then. So as I said, the G, and it was a bit flat, wasn't it? It was a bit flat. So I just need to make it go forward. So flat means forward. To make it go forward, you need to just loosen it off. You can see it move there again if you're for every eagle-eyed. I can tune her up again. So that's pretty flat, so I'm just going to continue just to push it forward with about 2 turns there. So I've got to make sure I tune it up again. So it's very nearly there now. maybe just a tiny bit more. So remember it's, oops, done that again. So remember it's flat, so I need to bring it forward. So I'm going to do that by just doing 2 half turns or a whole turn. So I think we should be nearly there now. I think it's actually just a little bit sharp now. I've come just a little bit too much. So so I'm going to. Right, my camera just cut out there, so sorry about that. So as I was saying, I was just I just set up my action, and I just actually made it a bit too sharp because it was flat, and then we kept tying it up, and then it went a bit too sharp. So so rather than loosening it off, what I had to do is tighten it up. So I tightened it about probably a turn, and then it was just about right, and that was it. So before we go, let me just recap what I did there for the intonation. So the intonation is the length of the string or the tune of the guitar to itself. So you know when you go up and you play bar chords higher up the fretboard, if it tends to sound more out of tune, sorry, if it tends to sound more out of tune, then your probably intonation is out. Right. So what I did, and first thing you got to do is make sure that your string's in tune, and that's bang on in tune, and then you fret the 12th fret, which is obviously an octave above, or a doubling in frequency and a doubling in pitch. So then what I did, if it was flat, which it was, you've got to move the saddle forward. So flat means forward, yeah, alliteration. Quite easy to remember, flat is forward. So once I've done that, I just adjusted it until it was right, and then that was it. And then all I made sure was, before I retuned it or I rechecked it, is that I did retune it. So before I rechecked it, I did retune it. And that, ladies and gents, is how I set up my guitar. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and have a nice play, plug it in, and play some blues. So until next time, hope that was useful. See you later. See you later, mate.